West Ham will host fellow Londoners Fulham at the London Stadium on Friday night in front of the cameras, live on Sky Sports. And a battle of the two Premier League sides that will feel that they should be doing a lot better. Both teams have played below expectations and will hope that this game can spark the finish to a campaign strongly. Look, Fulham, Friday night under the lights at the, I was about to say Upton Park, geez, the London Stadium.
Oh, don't say that.
We are live, so make sure you get your comments and in below. Look, Fulham, go for it, give me your thoughts.
Well, this is going to be one of them games where we can easily just go, it's only Fulham. We don't need to worry that much.
Yeah.
What are they going to do to us? They're below the top six. We don't need to put a very good performance in, which is exactly the type of game where if we play like that, we're going to lose for sure. So we need to look at this like, this is a team that's struggling. They're desperate for points. Might even part of the bus, but might just go for it as well. They've got a dangerous striker in Mitrovic, obviously, and they've fatted to deceive. Obviously, they had a good summer transfer window, bringing a load of players in, but the players haven't gelled for whatever reason. Ranieri's got a struggling job, so yeah, they're not going to come with anything apart really from Mitrovic and maybe Babel to worry about. But it's certainly a game you can't take lightly.
Is it the typical West Ham where are we going into this game expecting anything coming off the last result against Crystal Palace? I mean, we've got some news. We know that Lanzini is potentially returning. Nasri and Balbuena are potentially returning. It looks like it's potentially too early for Wilshere. I mean, what kind of mindset are West Ham going into this game against a struggling Fulham?
Well, hopefully they're not feet up at the beach in Marbella, and hopefully the only thing that's changed with the squad is they've got more of a tan. Because if we go into this with in holiday mode still, we're going to lose. We're going to go out of it. But it's great to know that players that have been missing for a long while, Lanzini, etc., are going to have a chance to feature again. The only thing with me is that West Ham like to rush players back, in my opinion. I've seen it happen quite often within the last couple of years where we've rushed an injured player back and they've got injured even within the game or after the game or after a couple of games, and it's not beneficial to us. So if Lanzini is going to come back in, if Balbuena is going to come back in, then we need to make sure they can 100% handle the return, because I don't want it to be a thing where Lanzini comes back and after the massive injury he's had, crumbles after the game or after the next game. So yeah, it's good to have them back. Just want to use them properly.
Yeah, hold on that. We'll come into that in a minute. Let's get on to Fulham. You've got some head-to-head stats in the Premier League. Look, what of West Ham versus Fulham?
Well, it reads pretty well for us because at the last few meetings we've won 12 times and they've won 4 times, and obviously we had the game earlier on in the season where we cruised to a 2-0 victory. So it's in our favour. But as I always like to say, it doesn't matter at all about past results, past performances, because it matters on the night. So we can't get too complacent, really.
Absolutely, we know it's always. We know that the the London Stadium's got so much potential, especially under the lights. I think any stadium does under the lights. Friday night. Let's get on to Fulham and Claudio Ranieri. I mean, they are struggling. What was your thoughts on Fulham when they made some of the signings they made? I mean, Seri, Schürrle, just to name a few. Mawson.
Well, to be honest with you, I mean, we made probably just as many signings, maybe not spending as much, but we should probably be doing better than we are right now, bar injuries, and Fulham on paper should be doing a lot better, especially for who they've signed. So it's one of those where you kind of go, you should be doing a lot better, and you've flattered to deceive thus far. Ranieri's obviously the manager, and it's a weird manager because for me, I've never really seen him as being that great a gaffer, to be honest with you.
Really, even after.
Yeah, the Leicester thing is the one thing he's got absolutely bang on in his career. Everything's gone right.
What, even at Chelsea?
Front, all the rest of it. No, I didn't really fancy him at Chelsea. It was almost like they couldn't wait to get rid of him as well, to get Mourinho in, because he kept tinkering with it. I don't think he really knew how to cope with the takeover with Abramovich at the time, and he was just going along with it for me, from what I remember at the time. He's never really been. I've never really rated him as a manager. And I must admit, when Leicester got him, I thought, what they're doing here got proved wrong. But then when Fulham brought Ranieri in, I thought, okay, maybe he might be switching it round. He might be a really decent manager since the Leicester days. But he's still struggling. I know. Obviously, Fulham a struggling club, but he's not exactly turned anything. He's not turned much around, has he? Apart from maybe Mitrovic's got better form or whatever.
I mean, Mitrovic was subject to a bid from a Chinese club during the transfer window. But is he the sort of player that you would kind of like? I mean, he's got some form against West Ham. He scored against us when he played for Newcastle.
Yeah, I would absolutely love him. I would. We've got a striker crisis at the club now, where about 3 out of 4 of them don't want to be at the club, and one that does want to stay isn't good enough, quite frankly. And if Anavic does go, which looks kind of inevitable in the summer, I'd love us to replace Mitrovic because he seems to be, he's got like, what is he, like 7 years younger than Anavic,
Yeah.
and he's just absolutely bull in a china shop. And I think West Ham, although we like to play this sort of pretty football under Pellegrini, you need a bit of that steel up front. And since Anavic has had his head turned, he's been half the player that he was. And I think that if you're going to replace a player with who's going to have Premier League experience and all that, he might cost 50 million. But I think
Yeah.
if you get out and buy a striker who's going to do a job, he'll do it for 50 million. And for me, I'd love West Ham to buy him in the summer.
Add to that, Ryan Babel. I mean, he's come back from
What is that
literally
hair?
from
What
literally
is that
nowhere.
hair?
But do you know what? Like he's actually done all right for Fulham. Like he's a decent footballer. It's funny. Like you get a lot of fans that slag off these players and the clubs that make these signings. I get the Babel signing, to be honest, because they needed squad players. They needed someone who could creativity. And if you've seen his debut he made for Fulham, like he pretty much dominated that game from start to finish. I mean. His Premier League experience. I mean, I'm not comparing him to Nasri. I'm just saying he's been there, he's done that, he's wore the t-shirt. Is that the sort of player that can make a difference, especially against West Ham?
It is, but it also seems like that would be a typical West Ham signing from about 5 years ago, where we're getting out of relegation and we're going to try and buy a player who used to play in the Premier League with a big club, who's approaching sort of the twilight of his career. Obviously, I know he's only like 30 or 31, but it's the wrong side of 30.
Yeah,
And he's going to come in and try and do the biz for to keep him up. But there's no guarantees he'll do that. And at the moment, yeah, okay, he's looking impressive, but what's he done apart from looking impressive?
yeah.
Mitrovic is the one scoring the goals. So yeah, probably him and Mitrovic are probably the two players we need to look out for. But apart from that, I'm not particularly that worried. But I'm worried that West Ham won't take him seriously. That's my only worry.
And that is the typical West Ham. Fulham have played 26 games. They've won 4 games. They've lost 17, which does not read well at all. They've scored 25 goals, but they have conceded 58. I didn't realise it was that much. 58 goals. Are we the banana? Are they the banana skin for West Ham?
Yeah, but that would be down to us. That would be down to. It's funny because you've had all this stuff going on in the past week with the team going off to Marbella, and the comments from a lot of fans are that they lost in the cup, so they get rewarded by a jolly up in Marbella. I'm the first one to call them out for not doing their jobs and being rewarded when they shouldn't be rewarded, but it's not like that at all. And when I went to the Liverpool game, that was under the lights. We just lost the previous 3 games, and the atmosphere was great. The performance was great. It was. I know, obviously Liverpool top of the league, and it maybe pushed the players on more, but it still was like the fans really should have been pissed off, and the atmosphere didn't seem like that. And if you're going to come into a game where under the lights again against a Fulham team, and there's still this hoodoo that because we lost to Wimbledon in the cup, we don't deserve any. The season's done. It's going now.
Yeah.
You had to take every team seriously. We didn't take Wimbledon seriously in the cup. We thought we'd walk that. We didn't walk that. We probably went to a few of these away games, and we've gone, we'll be all right. We'll do it right. Even I think Antonio's even recently said about a month ago. He said after they beat Arsenal, they thought they could beat anyone, and it's just that ego that has to come down. Like yes, we drew with Liverpool. We had a good first half against Palace, but the second half was abysmal, and we were lucky really to come out of the draw. So we have to. I don't really care if West Ham don't batter them 3-0. I just want to turn up and give them a game.
Yeah.
Give it a 1-0 win, but the performance would do it for me.
I mean, you've got to look at these stats here, though. When you look at Mitrovic and Schürrle together, 16 goals. They've scored 16 of Fulham's 25 goals in the Premier League, and that were kind of shooing to start. They do have an attacking threat. Maybe they're not scoring goals left, right, and centre, but there's players there that are capable of scoring goals. We'll come on to West Ham's, the positives, the strengths, and the weaknesses in a minute. What is your most feared part of Fulham? Is it the story behind them not doing so well, which means it's typical West Ham will slip up against this side, or is it the actual genuine threat of those players like I've just mentioned, Schürrle and Mitrovic?
It's literally maybe that set pieces, because if they start launching the balls in from free kicks and Mitrovic gets on the end of them, that can be a problem. I'm not worried about Fulham's predicament. I'm not worried about what Fulham bring tactically, because they would have bought it by now to most
Yeah.
teams, so they just keep losing. And for me, we're going to struggle with the physicality that Mitrovic brings. So apart from that, I'll be honest with you, you're telling me about sport to be scared of with Fulham, what they're bringing. But I look at this team now going, you're not going to beat Fabianski though. Fabianski's on fire. He's going to stop you. I thought about it today. I was thinking all this praise for Fabianski getting it's well deserved. But I keep thinking I'm not scared. I'm not worried about it. I'm worried about Mitrovic does, but at the same time I'm going, we've got Fabianski. We're
Yeah.
fine. We're safe. We don't
Yeah.
need to worry. It's stupid, a bit naive, but yeah.
Another player to talk about is the returning Havard Nordveit back to Fulham. I don't think he's made it the last couple of games, but there's a rumour that he may be fit and potentially slotted into the midfield, which so many West Ham fans thought he should have, and when he did perform there, did all right. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I thought at the time he started to show some. I know you said previously in the group chat that he's absolutely wank, and there was no chance of him even fulfilling his potential
Who
in
said
the
that?
holding
Me?
midfield role. Yeah, you
Yeah, I
said it a
did.
few
No, I
times.
agree with that. I still do
Yeah,
agree with that.
and it's funny because with us he played about 4 different positions, and
Yeah,
he
no,
never
but when
quite
he
got the
did,
crack of it.
when he did, he wasn't.
So knowing what he's like and what he's like with his career is he'd probably end up playing right back, centre back, left back, centre midfield. He'd be all over the shop and we'll just take him to pieces. Look, sometimes we sell these players and they come back to haunt us. So hopefully he's not going to be like that with Northfight, and he'll be just as useless as he was with us.
Fulham are currently conceding over two. I think they're saying an average over 2 goals per game. I'm going to get you some more statistics on Fulham, but and the reason why I'm bringing these in, they have a 63% tackle success. They have quite low interceptions, really high clearance ratio. Obviously, because the ball seems to be in their half quite a lot. It is true. But the reason why I brought that up, I'm just trying to remember why, is now we can, I suppose, step on. We've done enough on Fulham. Is the potential positive signs of players coming back from West Ham. Great news, obviously, is Lanzini's been training for over a week. Great news that Nasri's back in training. And great news that Balbuena is back in training, and the potential return of Jack Wilshere. Whether they start or not, surely it's just going to add the competition, the positive vibe around the club, and you just add that to the mix of creativity that we have been lacking, and add that to some of the creativity we do have. What are your thoughts on the points I've just said?
The funny thing is fundamentally, it's a dead season for us now. So all we've got really is to try and finish as high as we can in the league. Now, that can either be good for players coming back because there's less pressure on them to form when they actually do come into the side. It gives them more time to ease themselves into it. But at the same time, you have less, you're less eager, shall we say, to try and actually achieve something this year. So in some ways, it's great to have them back, but it's like it almost feels like there's no, I don't know how to put it really. There's no urgency to get him in because then coming back is fantastic.
Yeah.
But if we were pushing for the cup and like for the FA Cup, and they said to us, "Oh, they're coming back," but oh, brilliant! That's more help. That's more squad depth for the cup games. But now you come in, you're going, well, what are they coming back for?
Yeah.
Do they need to come back this early? I mean, I know he's been training for a week. Well, Lanzin's been training for a week. We'll let him train for a month and then come back. Because it's going to be, it feels like you're going, right, oh, let's get him out. Let's get the social media posts out. Let's get him saying, oh, he's back now. He's been training for a week.
Look, do you genuinely think, though, that continued problem, we have bringing back players too early, do you think it's still there?
No, but I'm just worried. Like, don't be wrong, don't give a shit if Wilshere comes back or not. I think he's done as a footballer. But players like Balbuena, I think it's okay they're fit, but how much do you actually need to go? Right, you're fit, back in the squad. Because I know we're pretty lackluster. What's it called? Scarce on options on the bench and stuff like that. But still, it's a bit like I'm not over the moon they're back. I'm happy they're back and they're fit. But it's a bit like, please do not just go right. Oh, Bonner's a bit of a shambles at the back with the op. We want to get that partnership back again, and we had earlier in the season, which was giving us
I
results.
suppose the question or the retaliation to that is what are we playing for this season? I mean, a lot of people and some comments coming in saying we could still reach seventh. Personally, I'll be brutally honest, I'm not that bothered about seventh
No,
because I don't particularly want Europe with the current squad. With one more summer investment, I'd be intrigued to see what that can do. But what I mean, if we trust in the board, in what Pellegrini and his background team have done, is there any harm in seeing Lanzini play at some point in this game, Balbuena play some point in this game? Is that not a positive? Is that not a good sign? Is that not what's going to give West Ham fans a bit of something to go, do you know what? I pay all this money to come and see them play. I want to see the best players out in the park. I want to see that spark, that Lanzini. I mean, look, there's no denying it. Come Friday night, if it's the 60th minute, because we know Lanzini's not going to start, we know Balbuena's not going to start, we know Nasri's not going to start, but come the 60th, 70th minute, and when Lanzini's coming off that bench, we are going to be buzzing. We are going to be buzzing, mate.
Yes, yeah, I know it's going to be all the atmospheres in the car has been fantastic. I just don't want to hear 3 days later
he was shit.
he's pulled. He's pulled up in training with an injury, and he needs some more time to recover. And it almost seems like it's now our season's dead. Like this is the thing to look forward to. Because we're not in a cup anymore. Because it's a bit like if we finish seventh, but what's the point? We've had the opportunity like 4 or 5 times this season and bottled it every single time. So bringing these back is like, oh look, look, the players are coming back. Look, Balbuena's back. Diop and Balbuena. So you love them. Look at Lanzini coming back. Look, he's like, all right, yeah, they're back, great. But essentially, why do we need them? The only people who care about finishing seventh are the owners because they get more money the higher we finish. But you ask any fan.
I think Pellegrini wants it. I think he wants the opportunity for
Europe. Yeah, but do we care that Pellegrini wants it? Because Pellegrini's got a job to do. He's getting paid 10 million a year to do this job, and he's got 3 years to get Europe. It's not happened in the first year. We've had little mini cup runs here that haven't worked out. And look. I'm not moaning about them coming back. I'm happy they've come back, and I want them to be back in the team. But I'm just worried that we're going to fuck it up by going. It just feels like it should give Lanzini this year off. Let him come back in pre-season. Let him work out his fitness in pre-season. And then, as I'm saying this, I'm realising I'm not a professional sports coach, and I probably know nothing about.
He might need. I get your point, and we don't want this whole thing. But like I said, I think it's. I think if we trust Pellegrini, we trust Pellegrini. We trust our medical team. We have had. We are correct, and you are completely right to be worried about West Ham players who are injured coming back into the team. Yeah. Any fan is. Get your comments in below. Let us know what your thoughts are on what we are saying. We have talked about.
They're probably all saying Luke is talking shit and get him off the fucking video. But
no, mate. Listen, this is what it's all about. We're West Ham. We've got our own opinions. That's fine. I'm excited by it. I'm not excited about the fact that he's going to come in and we're going to try and challenge for 7th place. That doesn't bother me. I'm just excited to see some. I'm excited to see Lanzini under Pellegrini. I'm very aware that this will take him 5 or 6 games to get back into some fitness. It may take him the rest of the season. But what I'm excited to see is the potential for Lanzini with Anderson. If other players are coming back in come April, Yarmolenko, and you've got the Wilshere, if he does get a game back again, you've got Arnautovic, you've got Chicharito. I mean, there's that potential there, and that's the potential that we want to see because we want to see what do we need for next season.
Saying all that, right, just quickly on this, right, ability-wise, of course they do, but form-wise and attitude and all that sort of stuff like that, Lanzini walks back into that team? Or do we still try and put Snodgrass in that attacking midfield role to try and fill the hole because Nasri's not back yet? Do we take Bonner out quickly, like the minute he doesn't have a brilliant game, he has maybe an average game, and then you bring Balbuena in the next game because you can't wait to get a Bonner out because you know that Diop and Balbuena is such a special partnership that's building?
I think.
What do you think?
On that question there about Balbuena and Ogbonna, I think it's a no-brainer. Ogbonna's going to start. And I think it's going to take for a calamity, which I think he is capable of doing every game, But it has to be. I don't know. I don't. I never want. As much as I dislike Ogbonna, I totally want him to perform at the top level. I'm West Ham, mate. I just can't help it. I support every player. But I think it will take for maybe a couple of calamities, like a really bad game, which he's very capable of doing, and within the next 2 to 3 games before we see Balbuena start. I do think we'll see Balbuena potentially brought on with 10-15 minutes to go to give him a bit of... I mean, it all depends on how the game's going as well. I mean, you never know. One of the players could pick up an injury, and we may have to see Balbuena a lot earlier than what we do. But let's hope that doesn't happen. But my key thing is I just need Balbuena and Diop back in that partnership again. But I'm not bothered about them. I'm not bothered about them, Balbuena starting this game at all. But I want to see him give him some game time, to be honest.
I meant for the game after, really, but it's very strange you see a centre back come on as a substitute unless there's an injury these days. So be interesting, be very, very interesting what happens. Yep. But looking forward to it.
It's pretty common knowledge we'll probably not see any of the players we've mentioned start, but there'll be probably 3 of the 4 that are in the kind of rolling banner below that you'll see sitting on the bench, and it was just it's going to be nice to see that strength and depth again for the first time. But we've kind of been missing. And you know what? Look, sometimes these players need that looking over the shoulder, who's up behind them, who's training hard, and it will push them a bit more. And we don't have anything to play for. People can say 7th is something to play for, but it's something to look forward to. Anyway, another thing we need to discuss is Arnautovic and the striker situation, because on the back of the game we had against Crystal Palace, what do you do? Do you stay with the same team, or do you start Arnautovic?
Yeah, no, Arnautovic has to work his way back into the team. Has to earn his place, like every team, every player on that team. His performances since doing that pathetic video after the Wimbledon game haven't said to me anything along the lines of I want to stay at West Ham and I'm sorry for what I did and I'm back here now. You're going through the motions. Yes, he's got a slight injury problem with his knee. Yes, he probably needs time to get into the game properly. But this is a guy we're talking about who, on his day, is by far our best player. Ability-wise and attitude-wise, tenacity-wise, and he hasn't got any of that since he's making excuses about his why he wants to stay at the club and all sorts of stuff like that. I don't want to see him start unless we are absolutely desperate or he's actually earned a right. And for me, Hernandez isn't really doing that much. He's not. He's the best of a bad bunch for me. You've got Carroll who simply can't fit in that system and hasn't played at all well really since. Well, we're talking this season. Perez, who didn't even travel with the team to Marbella, who seems to want out just as much as Arnautovic. Arnautovic hasn't got his move and isn't showing the right stuff. Hernandez seemingly he's fine with playing, bit sulky, not up to standard really. But out of all of them, you'd go with Hernandez. If you're not going to pick any of them 4, you need to pick someone who possibly can play up front as a makeshift, maybe Antonio, and switch Snodgrass to the right and do all the other stuff. But
I just, on that, I think what we'll see is some changes. I think we're going to see Arnautovic start over Chicharito. I think what he has got is the second half ability to really mix up things. Imagine the impact of bringing, whether he's fit or not and he needs game time, but coming off the bench, you've got the Lanzini, the Chicharito and a Nasri, just for a prime example. And then you add that to the mix of Anderson and Arnautovic that are already on the park. Depending on the way the results going, I just think we're going to see a Pellegrini now that has got options and different options that we've not had all season. So the funny thing here, Luke, is we can predict probably this starting lineup to a certain extent. What we can't predict is what his substitutions are going to be. What we can't predict at all, even on the relation of this game, is how he's going to go into the next game and how he's going to put the team out for there, because he's going to have players to select and players that are all competing for the first team, like no-brainers. It
might turn into a mini pre-season within a season.
Yeah.
It might be experimental. It might say, oh, well, now we've got the leeway to, once we're obviously safe with the points and once we've got nothing to play for, like, relegation wise, because there's still being a West Ham fan in the back of my mind that the dreaded relegation battle could happen again. That's just me.
Yeah.
I think that he's going to try to maybe experiment this time, but then there's a part of me that Pellegrini doesn't like experimenting that much and really wants to get the job done. He's ambitious. He wants to finish as high as possible, no matter if the fans think that our season's done because we got out of the cup. Mentality-wise, you have to play your strongest team in competitive matches really anyway. So be interesting, be very interesting.
It will be, mate. I don't think there's any really major points we need to discuss. I think we've discussed everything we need to do. Unless you've got any points.
Well, I was going to say about this what's it called? Team signing. The teams. Oh, my dog's going middle. Right, no, forget it. I've lost all.
What was it? Go for it. Who was saying?
It was like the signing with the players. Anderson, was it Diop?
Yeah, I mean, we can do a bit of the gift of gab, but we'll just quickly give you the point. I think some of the fans were really pissed off over the fact that the club done a signing and a lot of fans missed out. Do you know what? I'm not going to get in depth about that. Look, I would be pissed off.
I don't know anything about it.
No, I know. But I would be pissed off if I was a parent. I'd be pissed off as a kid. Has it happened in the past? Probably. Will it happen again in the future? Yes. Does social media just add fuel to the fire? Yes. Are we a West Ham channel that should report everything? Yes. Does it massively bother me? If it was my son and it was me, I'd be massively pissed off. But when I was a kid, look, I was let down by West Ham players when I asked them for autographs. I was let down by things that happen. It's always going to happen. It's nothing that I'm going to get massively pissed off about. But the club need to manage that a lot better. If people are travelling so far, if they're announcing it, they should state from the start we'll have a certain limit of numbers. It's quite an easy fix in my opinion. There's 500 fans. If you are 501, you don't get through. And then you have the expectation, you don't leave yourself open for abuse, and that's exactly what unfortunately it doesn't seem to be that West Ham are managed that way behind the scenes. They're really not managed that well at the stadium, so it's a simple fix in my opinion, and let's just hope that they should have done it that way, and let's just hope they give something back to those fans somehow. Okay, is that your point?
I've lost my train of thought a little bit. Yeah, carry on. Sorry.
For me personally, I don't think there's going to be many changes in the team selection. Maybe Arnautovic. Debatable between me and you. I think Arnautovic will come in. You think maybe Chichuta will stay. Be interesting to see. We just know our bench is going to be looking very different. Let's get on to predictions. Go for it, Luke. Lukey boy, what are your predictions for Friday evening?
3-1. I think it's going to be quite a. It won't be a pretty game because Fulham are up against it. They're away from home, so in my opinion, they'll look for the counter attacks. They'll look for set pieces, but it's a good chance for us to play our game and whatever. So I think 3-1. Anderson will get a goal. I think Snodgrass might get a goal from a set piece, and then Antonio will finish off, and Mitrovic will inevitably get a goal from a header or something like that.
Yeah. So, get your comments in below. Let us know your predictions. Luke has said 3-1 West Ham. I kind of want to say the same, but I've got to be a little bit different, and I'm just going to go down the same old.
You just choose to.
I think we're going to win. I think we're going to see goals, and I think it'll be 3-2 to West Ham. But it'll be a nice win. Hopefully, the fans need it. I think it'll be nice to see the return of Lanzin, the return of Nasri. We'll just like to see these players coming back into the swing of things. So fingers crossed we get the 3 points. I'll be at the game. It's the first one in a while. Looking forward to it. Look, you're going to be there as well. So if you see us, drop us a line. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you get the comments in below. Make sure you hit the thumbs up. He's been Luke. I've been Anton. This has been Irons United. Come on, you Irons.